Hey everyone, and welcome to a 10-minute workout that is designed to help you improve your wrist extension or bending your wrist back after a stroke. Let's get into it. So for our first exercise, we're gonna go into a prolonged wrist extension stretch. So what we're going to do is resting your hand either on a table, on your leg, wherever is most comfortable. You're gonna use your unaffected hand to gently bend the wrist of your affected hand back. Now, you can either have your fingers closed in a fist. If you are able, you can get those fingers out and push your wrist back that way. There is no wrong way to do this as long as you're not pushing through pain or trying to really crank back on that wrist. You want to respect pain, respect when you can't push any further, and not try to push through it. So it may be easier for some of you to keep your fingers in a fist as you bend that wrist back, and then you're just holding there. So make sure that you're taking nice big deep breaths as we go through this, in through your nose, out through your mouth. Good. Let's go ahead and move into our second exercise, which is passive wrist extension. So you are going to be using your unaffected hand to bring your wrist back, and we're going to do some repetitions here. Now for each of these exercises, I have got 60 seconds on the clock, but that doesn't mean you have to fill the whole time up with repetitions or holds. Do whatever feels most comfortable to you. Do however many repetitions feels most comfortable. If you need to stop and take a break, that's perfectly fine. But you are just gently bringing your wrist back into extension. Not pushing too hard. You're doing great. All right, let's go ahead and move into our next exercise, which is active wrist extension. So this is where the fun really starts. We're gonna try to get that wrist moving and grooving. Now, I've pulled over a cloth napkin. You can use a washcloth or whatever you've got around the house. So I'm gonna be using this to help reduce the friction between my hand and the mat or table, whatever you're using. Now I'm gonna try to actively bend my wrist back and forward. Now you may have noticed I've got a cuff weight here back behind my wrist. The reason I'm doing this is because I'm trying to actively give my brain a goal to shoot for here. What do I mean by that? I mean that in motor learning principles and motor learning recovery, that's one way that we frame how to get better and how to improve movement. Our brain's like having feedback. And that means that our brain says, okay, there's something that my hand is trying to hit. I have something to shoot for now versus just movement, movement, movement. Okay, let's go ahead and get into resistive wrist extension. And for this, I am putting on a cuff weight and going into that same movement. But now we're getting a little bit of strengthening. I'm doing this with a 1 pound cuff weight. If you don't have a cuff weight, that's okay. You don't need any special equipment. If you have some level of grip strength, you can hold on to a water bottle, a can of food. You can hold on to a dry bag of beans, whatever you got. You can even tape those things around your hand as long as you don't have any type of allergy to adhesive, or ace wrap that around your hand to provide a little extra resistance. All right, let's go ahead and get into our last exercise, which is functional wrist extension. What do I mean by functional wrist extension? Well, I mean, we're looking at everyday activities that use wrist extension. And some of those activities include combing or brushing your hair, being able to bend your wrist back so that you can brush or comb. It includes brushing your teeth, or even like when you're sitting to get up from a table, pushing at that table. So you pick whatever is gonna be best for you. For this first set, I'm gonna practice pushing here at this table. So we're just lifting and pushing. Lifting and pushing. This one's also going to get you some nice weight bearing down through your hand, through your wrist. You're doing great. And let's go ahead and stop. And we're going to take a short rest break here. So what I want you to do is just close your eyes and let's take a nice big deep breath here together. In through your nose and out through your mouth. Let's do one more of those in through your nose and out through your mouth. Good. So now we should be ready to go into our next set of exercises, and we're just starting back with those prolonged wrist stretches. So either with your hand in a fist or with your fingers out, you are gently going to press your wrist back into extension, and then you are going to hold there. You're holding for as long as feels comfortable. You're not pushing through any sharp, acute pain. And you're not cranking back on that wrist to try to shove it past where it shouldn't go. We respect the limitations of movement right now, but this stretching can be helpful to improve movement over time, along with the other exercises that we're doing as well. So hang with me here. We just have a few more seconds left. You're doing great. All right, and let's go ahead and go into our next exercise, which is passive wrist extension. So you can stay in that same position, or as I mentioned before, if you've got a little bit of finger movement, try getting those fingers out and straight, and then you're just going to start repetitively pushing that wrist back with your unaffected hand. Now, something to note here, I don't want you going like too quickly through this exercise. Everything needs to be slow and intentional, because if you have spasticity or high muscle tone, going really quickly is going to aggravate that muscle tone. Spasticity by definition is caused or created further with velocity or quick movement. So we want to make sure we're doing slow repetitions. You're doing great, almost there, couple more seconds. Hang with me. All right, next exercise, we have the active wrist extension. Now, actually for this one, you can go back to this movement with the target and the towel underneath you. However, I'm gonna show you an upgraded way to do this. If you need a little more challenge, you can hang your wrist off the side of a table, off your knee, and bring your wrist back as far as you can. Great job. So this is going to give us a bit more of a challenge, a bit more of a workout this way, because in this position, we're also really having to fight gravity. The resistance of gravity is coming straight down, and we're having to push up our hand and our wrist against that. So we actually get a little bit of strengthening this way as well. Again, we're moving at a nice, slow, controlled pace. We're not trying to fast forward through this as fast as we can, because that control of the muscles is what's really helping to get some of that movement and strength back. All right, let's go ahead and move into resistive wrist extension. So for this, we're really gonna challenge ourselves. I have the cuff weight on. I'm gonna get back into that same upgraded position. However, if this is still too difficult for you, you can go back to having your hand sideways and moving your wrist back. But I'm gonna show you this way. Again, if you don't have the cuff weight, you can hold on to a can, you can hold on to a dumbbell, bag of beans, can of soda, bottled water, whatever you have laying around the house that you can hold on to. And we're just going to repetitively bend that wrist back. Not pushing through any pain, and respecting the limits. So when you feel that your wrist is getting tired and you feel like it's gonna be really hard to do one or two more, go ahead and take a break. Okay, let's move into our last exercise, which is functional wrist extension. Now for this one, I'm gonna take the comb. We practiced pushing against the table last time. But for this one, I'm gonna hold the comb. You can hold a toothbrush, a hairbrush, whatever. And all I'm gonna do is practice raising that up and down. Now you can sit here and practice with your arm supported on the table if you wish. You can also try to practice doing the actual task. So it's whatever works best for you. Or, again, you can come back down here. Don't know why I put that over there. You can just practice holding on to whatever object you're using and just practice bending your wrist back as though you're about to go into that movement. All right, everyone, let's go ahead and stop here. Wonderful job, everyone. I hope you feel like you got a nice workout for those wrist extensors today. As always, I'm going to be leaving a link down in the description below if you'd like to sign up for the email list, which gets you free stroke recovery tips and motivational emails every week, as well as a free copy of my ebook, The Stroke Recovery Pocket Guide. And if you find value in what we do here at Post Stroke, please consider donating, either via PayPal for a one-time donation or by becoming a Patreon member, where in exchange for a monthly donation, you get access to a lot of cool perks, including social media shoutouts, behind-the-scenes videos, and even YouTube shoutouts at our Empower level. And on that note, I have a shout out for Doug C. Thank you so much for being a backer, a Patreon member at the Empower level. We can't do what we do without you. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.